Now this is very popular, cloud native architecture. Let's see what is this architecture is all about. Cloud native architecture is a design approach that leverages cloud computing to build and run scalable application in dynamic environment. Cloud computing, I have created a separate playlist for it. What is cloud computing? Nothing but we already have so many cloud providers, AWS, GCP, Azure, etc. And they provide so many services, multiple services, whether it's infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. Those solutions are provided by those providers. Now this architecture evolved around those services, whether it's in IaaS, whether it's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and all. This architecture is focused on flexibility, scalability, and resilience. These key terms are coming from cloud only. This scalability, flexibility, these are cloud terms. Scalability is like you add more servers, can you scale the application, right? So these are all cloud terms, and this architecture allowing organizations to take full advantage of the cloud's capabilities. These all are cloud capabilities. So this architecture will also evolve around cloud capabilities only. Let's see the key characteristics of cloud native architecture. Okay, first one, microservices. Like I said earlier, microservices architecture is also very popular for one of the use case, which is cloud native architecture, right? So the very first characteristics of cloud native architecture is, of course, microservices. And applications are built as a collection of small independent services that communicate through APIs. Each service can be deployed, developed, and scaled independently. So the very first characteristic of cloud native architecture is we can build multiple microservices, and those microservices are independent in nature. They work for one specific task. They are not relying on each other, very loosely coupled. They interact with each other over protocol, like for example REST based protocol, etc. Right? So they can be even on different platform or different technologies altogether, right? Containerization services are packaged in containers, which provide a lightweight and consistent environment for development, testing, and deployment. This ensures that applications run the same way regardless of where they are deployed. Then dynamic orchestration. Tools like Kubernetes are used to manage containerized applications, automating deployment, scaling, and management of containers based on demand. Right now we are talking about cloud, so all the functionalities, all the capabilities of clouds are being discussed right now. One of the cloud feature which is very unique, which is of course orchestration, right? So we will create the container, and using those containers, those packages, we have tools like Kubernetes available. We can just have manage, can deploy those containers, right? We can have automatic deployment, we can scale, we can put in scaling, etc. of those containers, right? So that those options are there. DevOps practices emphasizes collaboration between development and operations team, enabling continuous integration and continuous delivery, or sometimes we CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery practices for faster and more reliable software releases. Then elasticity and scalability, very popular topic of capability of cloud computing, right? Applications can automatically scale up or down based on demand, allowing efficient resource utilization and cost management. What is this? So for example, you have made this web application live, and you are expecting that 100 users will access your application at a time, right? But your website is so amazing that you see that on this coming Diwali, thousands of users are coming to access your web application. But the problem is your infrastructure, what you have created, will just cater only 100 users at a time. So how? Consider you have not even used this cloud capability, right? What will you do? You will go to the market, will buy more resources, more CPU, etc., right? And it's an overhead because you need to change the whole infrastructure. Now if we use this cloud native architecture, what will happen? Because you are on cloud, and with cloud we have this feature available, pay as you go subscription, it will automatically scale your server, right? It will automatically increase the VM size, etc. Just a second. And I thought I should explain this also. What I am trying to do is I'm just trying to explain scaling very quickly. So yeah, let me explain. I mean, it will take just a few minutes. Okay, so we have two type of scaling. I have already described that in one of the video, but I thought I should explain it. Oh sorry, not this one. This is just a second. So this is up and this is okay, scaling, right? So we are talking about scalability, scaling. So we have two type of scaling, vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Now consider there is a scenario, right? This is the family, right? And two people are living right here happily, no problem at all. Now they have a kid also. Now kid is growing, got adult, right? And he got married. So what they need one more house for it, either some way to accommodate another person, right? The newly added person here, his wife, right? So there are two ways. One way would be in the same house they will add one more room up there, multi-story building. That is one. Or they will, within the same premise, they will build another house, right? So when they are adding one floor to it, so what they are doing, they are adding some more capacity to the existing house. This is called vertical scaling. When they are altogether making a new house, this is called horizontal scaling, right? This way we are increasing. So similar way in cloud native architecture, what will happen, we will have in cloud, this is nothing but the VM, right? The VM, CPU, storage, consider this is server, right? This is server. So in this case, the server size is increased, and in this case, more servers are added to handle the load, right? So within cloud, and this is in few seconds. This is can be done automatically scale up or scale down. So that is the benefit of having cloud native architecture. Next one is resilience and fault tolerance. Designed to withstand failures, cloud native applications often include built-in redundancy and failover mechanism to ensure high availability. So for example, when we run our application on cloud, right, and they have concept of multiple availability zones, multiple regions, right? So for example, this is one region, right? This is one reason, this is another reason, right? And because of some natural disaster or some issue, one reason failed, we still have data that application is running through another reason or maybe some another availability zone, right? So that is called fault tolerance, right? So designed to withstand failures, cloud applications often include built-in redundancy. So their data redundancy means your data will be copied over to multiple regions or multiple availability zones, so that in case of some disaster, using failover mechanism is still application is still available. That is called high availability. Now APIs and event driven communication. Services communicate through well-defined APIs or events. That is the characteristics of microservices architecture, promoting loose coupling and flexibility in integrating with other services. So that is a feature with microservices architecture. They communicate with each other over well-defined APIs or event. If this is event, then this is event-driven architecture also. And like I have mentioned a couple of times, when we design any of the architecture, this is always a combination of different architectures. So for example, right now we are talking about cloud-native architecture, microservices architecture, event-driven architecture, and layered architecture. So we have taken four architectures features. Promoting loose coupling and flexibility integrating with other services. Okay, then infrastructure as code. Infrastructure is managed through code and automation tools, enabling version control, consistency, and rapid provisioning of resources. That is also possible. We can put infrastructure as code. We can create those templates, and whenever we want to deploy another infrastructure altogether, using those templates we can just deploy the whole infrastructure. Your infrastructure will be ready within few minutes, right? So those capabilities are there in cloud native architecture. Now let's see the benefits of cloud native architecture. First is faster time to market. It enables rapid development and deployment cycles. Cost efficiency reduces infrastructure cost through on-demand resource usage, and this is one of the beautiful advantage. Actually, pay-as-you-go subscription, no need to buy all the servers. When starting, if you think that we need more servers, we will just buy those servers on the go until we need them, and then again decommission them. So it will, of course, this subscription will, of course, will save money, right? Improved resilience. Applications can recover quickly from failures, right? We have this failover mechanism concept. Enhanced developer productivity. Focus on writing code rather than managing infrastructure, because your infrastructure is managed by amazing cloud providers, whether it is AWS, GCP, Azure, etc. And the advantages are not only till here. We have multiple advantages: scalability, performance, security. There are so many advantages. Whatever advantages we have with cloud capability, all advantages will be inherited by this architecture. Now let's see the use cases of cloud native architecture. So it is ideal for developing applications that require frequent updates, such as web applications, mobile backends, and APIs. Cloud native architectures empowers organizations to innovate rapidly while maintaining the flexibility and efficiency offered by cloud environments.